While most Americans are gathered around the Christmas tree, sharing meals with loved ones, or settling in for holiday classics, the President of the United States is engaged in something far more unsettling. Instead of celebrating the season, Donald Trump spent his Christmas Day flooding Truth Social with nearly 200 posts. A digital spiral that reveals not just isolation, but desperation. Among this avalanche of holiday messages was one post in particular that stands out for all the wrong reasons. A lengthy, defensive rant about Jeffrey Epstein that reads less like a denial and more like a confession. This isn't normal behavior for a sitting president. This is the conduct of someone who knows the walls are closing in. Before we dive into the details of Trump's Christmas meltdown, if you're finding value in this analysis, please hit that like button and subscribe to stay informed on political developments that mainstream media often glosses over. Your support helps us continue bringing you this critical coverage. To understand why Trump is spiraling right now, we need context. Recent revelations about the Epstein files have put enormous pressure on the Justice Department. A Justice Department now controlled by Trump's own appointees. And that's where the real problem begins.
Know how much of the redacting of the Epstein files involves redacting the word Trump. But we do know that the completely corrupted Trump Justice Department is capable of continuing to try to cover up whatever they believe they need to cover up for Donald Trump in the Epstein files. The Trump Justice Department is and will remain completely corrupted. They therefore have no credibility at all in anything that they say about the Epstein files. And so when Todd Blanch tells you that something is fake in the Epstein files, like a handwritten letter from Jeffrey Epstein to another pedophile in prison, Todd Blanch should not be able to convince anyone that that letter is fake. There are real reasons to believe it is fake, and there are ways of determining it is fake. But Todd Blanch does not have the credibility necessary to make that case. So all of the assessment of what is and isn't fake in the Epstein files will be made outside of the Trump Justice Department, because the Trump Justice Department is completely corrupted and there to do nothing other than try to defend Donald Trump. Todd Blanch lied today in a written statement about the Epstein files, saying that any of the negative information about Donald Trump in the Epstein files, if true, quote, certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. That is a lie. That is Todd Blanch pretending that the Biden Justice Department or the Obama Justice Department were corrupt like the Trump Justice Department. The Epstein files contains a claim by Jeffrey Epstein's brother that he believes, without evidence, that Donald Trump had Jeffrey Epstein killed in prison. The brother offers no evidence of that. There is no evidence of that. And that claim existed in the Epstein files during the Biden presidency. And no one in Merrick Garland's Justice Department ever dreamed of releasing that information. No one weaponized that unfounded claim by Jeffrey Epstein's brother. Since Todd Blanch works in a completely corrupted Justice Department, he knows what he would have done with statements like that about an enemy of Donald Trump's. Marjorie Taylor Greene has seen enough. The Republican member of Congress who built her entire political career on enthusiastic support for Donald Trump, but then lost Donald Trump's support when she demanded the release of the Epstein files, said today, "This is horrifying. Trump called me a traitor for fighting him to release the Epstein files and standing with women who were raped, jailed in stalls, and trafficked to men. Only evil people would hide this and protect those who participated. I pray for these women." Donald Trump tried to hide it. Donald Trump's attorney general tried to hide it. Donald Trump's criminal defense lawyer, now his deputy attorney general, tried to hide it. Donald Trump's clownish FBI director tried to hide it. Only evil people would be co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein. Evil people like Ghislaine Maxwell, who Donald Trump...
Lawrence O'Donnell's analysis cuts straight to the heart of the matter. The Trump Justice Department has zero credibility when it comes to these files. When Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanch, Trump's former criminal defense attorney, declares certain documents fake, he's asking the American people to trust a completely compromised institution. This is the same Todd Blanch who defended Trump in court. The same Todd Blanch who now holds one of the most powerful positions in American law enforcement. And he's using that power to run interference for his former client. The circular corruption is staggering. Trump installed loyalists throughout the Justice Department specifically to control the narrative around Epstein. When Blanch claims that damaging information about Trump would have already been weaponized, he's projecting. He's assuming that President Biden's Justice Department operated with the same corrupt mentality that Trump's does. But here's the truth Blanch won't acknowledge. The Biden Justice Department had access to explosive claims, including Jeffrey Epstein's own brother suggesting Trump may have been involved in Epstein's death, and they never leaked it. They never weaponized it. They maintained prosecutorial integrity even when it would have been politically advantageous to do otherwise. That's not weakness. That's the rule of law functioning as it should. But Trump wouldn't recognize that principle if it slapped him in the face. And when even Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of Trump's most loyal congressional allies, breaks ranks over the Epstein files, you know the situation has reached a critical point. Greene built her entire political identity on unwavering Trump support. But when she demanded transparency on Epstein, Trump turned on her instantly, calling her a traitor. That response tells us everything. If these files contained nothing incriminating, why the panic? Why attack your own allies for asking questions? Why spend Christmas Day melting down on social media instead of enjoying the holiday? The pattern is unmistakable. Trump has lied repeatedly about his relationship with Epstein. He claimed he was never on Epstein's plane. That was false. He's insisted the Epstein files are a hoax and that he barely knew the man, also false. Trump himself previously admitted Epstein was a terrific guy and that they'd been friends for 15 years. Now Trump wants us to believe he was the first to distance himself from Epstein, as if that's somehow exonerating. But even that claim is hollow. According to multiple reports, their falling out had nothing to do with Epstein's crimes and everything to do with a failed real estate deal. And there's evidence suggesting they may have reconnected afterward. Epstein allegedly spent Thanksgiving at Mar-a-Lago in 2017 while Trump was president. Every explanation Trump offers only raises more questions. Every denial draws more attention to what he's trying to hide. And that brings us to his unhinged Christmas Day post. In a lengthy message, Trump wrote, "Merry Christmas to all, including the many sleazebags who loved Jeffrey Epstein, gave him bundles of money, went to his island, attended his parties, and thought he was the greatest guy on earth, only to drop him like a dog when things got too hot. Falsely claimed they had nothing to do with him, didn't know him, said he was a disgusting person, and then blamed, of course, Donald J. Trump, who was actually the only one who did drop Epstein, and long before it became fashionable to do so." The post continues with Trump claiming that when names are revealed, they'll all be Democrats, comparing it to the Russia investigation, attacking the New York Times, and threatening that people's friends will be badly hurt and reputationally tarnished. He ends with an ominous warning. Enjoy what may be your last Merry Christmas. Let's break down what Trump just revealed in that bizarre Christmas message. He simultaneously claims the Epstein story is a hoax while also threatening that Democrats will be destroyed when the truth comes out. That's logically incoherent, unless you understand that Trump is flailing. He points to Democrats associated with Epstein, particularly Bill Clinton. But here's what Trump doesn't understand. Progressives aren't defending Clinton. There's widespread acknowledgement that Clinton's connections to Epstein were deeply troubling and that he should face scrutiny. The Democratic Party isn't rallying around Clinton the way Republicans circle the wagons around Trump. That's the difference. Democrats are willing to hold their own accountable. Republicans are executing a cover-up in real time. Trump tries to frame this as Democrats playing politics with the Epstein issue, but that's pure projection. The reality is far more damning for Trump's narrative. During the Biden administration, the Justice Department couldn't release Epstein files while Ghislaine Maxwell was undergoing trial, conviction, and appeals. Doing so could have jeopardized the prosecution, the only real accountability we've seen in this entire saga. Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland had many flaws, but he maintained the institutional integrity necessary to successfully prosecute Maxwell. That required keeping certain information sealed. Trump would have leaked anything that benefited him politically, consequences be damned. That's the difference between a functioning Justice Department and a corrupt one. As of late 2024 and early 2025, new revelations continue to emerge about the scope of Epstein's network and the efforts to suppress information. Whistleblowers within law enforcement have begun coming forward, describing pressure to bury evidence and avoid certain investigative threads. These aren't partisan allegations. These are career prosecutors and FBI agents watching the institution they served being corrupted from within. Trump's Christmas meltdown also reveals his strategy: deflection. He claims he was the first to turn on Epstein, implicitly admitting there was something to turn away from. If Epstein was just a casual acquaintance at parties, why would Trump need to publicly distance himself? Why would there be a falling out at all? The truth that Trump keeps confirming through his denials is that he and Epstein had a close relationship. Multiple witnesses have described seeing them together repeatedly, socializing, and operating in the same circles for years. Trump's own words in past interviews praised Epstein enthusiastically. And here's something particularly revealing. Jeffrey Epstein's own brother reportedly said that Epstein thought Trump was a terrible person, despicable and morally reprehensible. When a convicted sex trafficker thinks you're morally bankrupt, that says something profound about your character. So why is Trump melting down right now? Because he knows the walls are closing in. He knows that Democrats are calling on those working in the DOJ to step up, and it's time to hear from whistleblowers. Because if you're going along with what Pam Bondi and Todd Blanch are doing right now, you're breaking the law alongside them, and you should be held accountable for that. Of course, Trump is melting down on Truth Social. Of course he's freaking out. And of course he's implicating himself further by claiming this is all a hoax while simultaneously threatening people about it. What he's advocating for is the breaking of a law he himself signed. That's what's happening this Christmas as Donald Trump completely loses his mind. And it's because he knows what's coming next. More accountability, more pressure, and more revelations about the Justice Department's corrupt handling of these files.
And what we see is that the Department of Justice, frankly, and this is not exaggeration, is more concerned about hurting the reputation of the rich and powerful men who abuse the survivors than they are protecting the survivors. When it came to the survivors, they've released the names. In one case, a survivor's name was released in a horrible way, and she then asked why the FBI file which she was mentioned in was not released. They didn't release the file she's mentioned in, though she's requesting it, and they released her name. So they're breaking the law very quickly.
Representative Ro Khanna's observation exposes the grotesque priorities at play here. The Justice Department under Trump's control is more concerned with protecting powerful men than protecting survivors. They've released victims' names while redacting the identities of alleged perpetrators. They've ignored requests from survivors while claiming privacy concerns prevent transparency. This isn't about following procedure. This is about a coordinated cover-up. And they're breaking the law very clearly, as Khanna pointed out. When a survivor's name was released and she asked why the FBI file she was mentioned in wasn't also released, they didn't answer. They exposed her while protecting others. That tells you everything about whose interests they're serving. And this goes far deeper than what we've seen in recent weeks. During Trump's first administration, a U.S. attorney reportedly flagged Trump's connections not just to Epstein, but to Ghislaine Maxwell specifically. These weren't casual party interactions. According to these internal warnings, Trump was embedded in the larger network that Maxwell and Epstein operated. Think about what that means. This wasn't Trump attending a few social events where Epstein happened to be present. This was Trump involved in the operation itself, the recruiting, the logistics, the infrastructure of abuse. That's why he's so desperate to protect others in the files. Because if they're forced to testify, Trump's role becomes impossible to hide. Every person whose name appears in those files is a potential witness against Trump. Every unsealed document is another piece of evidence. Every whistleblower who comes forward brings us closer to the full truth. That's why Trump spent Christmas Day having a public breakdown on social media. That's why his Justice Department is breaking the law to keep information hidden. That's why he's threatening Democrats with vague warnings about their last Merry Christmas. These are the actions of a guilty man watching his carefully constructed walls crumble. The American people deserve transparency. Survivors deserve justice. And Donald Trump deserves to be held accountable for whatever role he played in one of the most heinous criminal operations in modern American history. The pressure continues to build. Congressional Democrats are demanding answers. Career law enforcement officials are quietly expressing concern about political interference. Survivors are speaking out and refusing to be silenced. And Trump's increasingly erratic behavior suggests he knows exactly what's coming. This story is far from over. The Epstein files aren't going away. Trump's meltdowns won't make the evidence disappear. And eventually, the full truth will emerge. No matter how many Christmas days Trump spends rage posting on Truth Social trying to rewrite history, we'll continue covering every development in this story because accountability matters. Truth matters. And the survivors who suffered at the hands of Epstein and his network deserve a Justice Department that works for them. Not for the powerful men who abused them. If you want to stay informed as the story unfolds, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Share this video with anyone who needs to understand what's really happening behind the scenes in Washington. The cover-up is failing, and justice is coming slowly, but surely.